another job. Tuone itakuwaje. Tulia na wewe. Toa gari. Toa gari. Toa gari. Nini sasa?
That they don't have the experience of what is required at younger age. That doesn't mean all of them will do that, but it's a good point. I remember my guys sending me to the market at age 13 to church street market on Saturday and waiting market on Sunday, and it was the best thing that I ever learned. Shirts. But you have to deal with money, you have to deal with customer complaints, it was absolutely superb. Now, today you've got risk assessment, you've got insurance, you've got parental controls, you've got chaperone, anywhere around there. I would love to say, but nothing like pigs on a Saturday would be wrong. Chris said, those of his fellow presenters should be because they needed a reward just in the studio. What would you like to say?
I'd like to say where you're coming from.
Well, I'm going to be at the Labour Party conference. I'm going to do our show from there on Monday and Tuesday.
So I said to the year 11s, sorry, the year 7s, by the time you get to year 11s, your CV and your activity is looked at by AI. Or look at your footprint. To be careful what you put out there, and also your achievements, and also smiles on the faces that would be on the school website when a winning chess competition or winning a race. I'm on this website for winning tennis competitions. So, well, from the age of 11 years of age, I said you need to stop keeping a record for all this. They used to have a thing back in the day. I worked at college and they come into the record machine, which was a folding book. We need an electronic record machine for someone to boost their esteem, to keep a record of what they've achieved. That's what, like, from a very early age.
I was going to say, David Young, Lord Young of Grafton, who sadly passed away a couple of years ago, when he was in government, he was developing a digital passport for school children. Successive governments did not bring it about. So great show, given somebody the opportunity to say who they are, what they've done, what they've achieved, and also look forward to where they're going.
Map ni
This digital
slando.
passport at school really should be embraced.
That's the map.
I've initiated that in the school I work in. I worked with one postgraduates during COVID, and I said, right, you create your own digital passport. So I showed them a very easy website where they could set up a website where they could actually, and this is the key to the point I want to make, they're all going around filming things, film yourself, you said before about practice yourself, answer interview questions and watch it back, and base everything on your experience. As you said, your CV and just, I'm great at this, I'm great at that. What employees need is evidence. So I'm saying to the 11-year-olds, go and get that evidence. Go and volunteer. Go and get involved. Do something. And I said to the postgraduates, you're actually not qualified for much at the moment, other than you've got a degree. How many other people have those degrees? What have you done on top of that degree? What makes you you? What makes you interesting? Do a 1-minute presentation of yourself. You're then on the employee's desk. Any employer would click on that link to say, this is me. And you're in front of the face tag. And it's working on those confidence skills. Working with people who have got anxiety, who aren't confident, is key. Because in the end, they will get interviews, whether it be online, whether it be face-to-face, to practice those skills.
Very wise words, I would say, Ronald. That's right. I thought so too. Great call. Your pupils are very lucky to have you, Andrew, given what you've just told us. Thank you very much. We'll take more of your calls and questions in just a moment. It's 8:46.
On the latest episode of The Newsagents,
we will be discussing Andy Burnham and whether he is pitching for Keir Starmer's job. And you'll be hearing from Patrick Marber, the comedian, the director, the writer, who has just opened The Producers at the Gareth. All that is available on our free global player.
get the latest episode of The Newsagents with Emily Maitlis, John Sopel and Lewis Goodall. Listen or watch on our free global player app or the new
Across the UK, people like
Mimi Gadera, mhani gari imefia kona.
It's of pain that I feel like the body can't
Never joke.
lose control because you are not
Hata
supposed to have it for
nitoe
children.
LBC's charity Make Some Noise is here to support people like Phil.
It's kind of a family that you never wanted to be a part of. You never choose to be a part of. But now you don't know what you do without.
You can change lives. Donate now at makesomenoise.com. Proudly supported by Furniture Village.
Sharing intimate photos of her without her consent. Unwanted touching. Unwanted comments. Unwanted nudes.
Controlling what she can and can't wear.
Controlling who she can and can't see.
Threatening her.
Enough. This is abuse.
If you think it's wrong, act on it.
Call it out. Show support. Report it.
There are many ways you can safely tackle violence against women and girls. Find out how at gov.uk/enough. If someone is in danger, call 911.
A silent train is a place where you can wind down.
Fanya ngeo ukirudi tena unapata umekiza gari kwa mtaa. Angalia mgali.
That's what Tom's going for 10 stories. Too good for the road job. Save the journey, rather than shopping, and save on that off people tickets at sunrailway.com. Terms apply.
At Lidl, there's always better value. Like switching from Morrison's to Lidl and saving £30 on this week's big shop at lidl.co.uk/savings. Which means a stocked up fridge of big brands, award-winning home brands, and your fresh five a day with extra helpings encouraged. Lidl, to value. Prices check 22nd of the night, 25 Morrison's also sent other products. See online for details.
Did you know when you get a McDonald's, you're helping support British and Irish farmers? From the Herefordshire beef farmers to the cake farmers of Lincolnshire. And thousands of farmers everywhere and anywhere in between. For us, it's all about using local ingredients. McDonald's, proud to support.
Very enough.
Guessed whether he has value
Hapa ni ngori.
DOE on the CV, but which I said
Gari kwa mtaa.
Well, anything that shows that you have actually achieved something, the employer is interested in.
Barabara inafaa kuwa hapa napitia. Na mimi nimekajaga masaa hizi za gari kwa
There are lots of things that people do, whether it's their hobbies, whether it's their interests, their travel.
barabara inafaa kuwa.
You need to put that on the CV.
Unaona venye kana sink kwa gari.
You don't need to put every single thing. Okay. Daniel, Sydney,
Ndio kuna barabara bwana.
How are you doing?
good, thank you.
Kutia waterfall ama amepitia wapi?
I find the whole jobs market absolutely bewildering at the moment. I mean, like I say, I think I spoke to you before. I'm 63 and I retired in 2020, and I've thought a couple of times about looking for a part-time job. And you go online and it's just, really? And I just I can't see where the correlation comes that you can fill this form in online, go and get an interview and get a job. And as I said to your producer, when I applied for a job that lasted me 35 years, I applied for the job, I went and did some tests which were basic arithmetic, a little bit of trigonometry, and I had to describe a vernier gauge, which is lying on the bench in front of us, using just plain English language.
Mapicha kidogo bana.
Back there and find out whether I had and whether I had a good English. And then
Hizi barabara ni mbaya. Barabara kadogo kala mimi nimefurahia wapi.
Pretty straightforward. I mean, I know it's a time gone by, but I mean.
So now you think it would be very different. I was going to ask you, Dave, have you actually focused on what it is that you really would like to do, rather than perhaps go online and look at what is available?
After 35 years of a high-stress, heavy engineering job, I want something that's going to be very easy as like stacking shelves, cutting grass, something like that. Something where I'm not
it gets stressed out. Anything really, just 1 or 2 years a week part time.
I mean, we have a great shortage of engineers. I was sitting next to the chairman of the National Motor Museum, and he's saying we're having real problems getting young engineers. Is there no way, with all your engineering experience, you could yourself inspire the next generation of engineers? Is there nothing that you could impart, teach? Because you find that very enjoyable.
Yeah, I mentored many apprentices over the years in various disciplines, from assembly to fabrication to CNC operation. And I mean, the apprentices that we had, they were all top notch, and most of the lads that I had have gone on to be engineers and design engineers, which, you know, I'm proud of that, and I still talk to the young lads now.
Well, I think you just answered the question of what you should be looking for.
Also, it gives you something to do, but it would give you, clearly from what you just said, a huge amount of satisfaction too. David, thank you for that. Sanjay says, I'm 26, I work in hospitality as a waiter for an agency. I graduated in the summer of 2024 and I'm still looking for a full-time position. I didn't do too well in my degree. I got a third-class honours, so I know it's trickier for me to gain employment from the rest of my peers who've got higher grades in their degrees. It has been very overwhelming throughout my employment search because there's the constant doubts and negativity that builds as time goes on with not being employed full time. I think that's a really interesting position. I mean, clearly employers do take notice of grades of degree, but personality is so much more important, I always think.
It really is. And
but how do you get that over in a CV?
Yeah. So in I mean, we look at the pandemic where lots of people had their education cut short, they never finished their degree. Employers were actually very understanding because we all went through this terrible period. I don't think you should look at yourself at your third class degree and think that you are third class. You're not. You have got a qualification. I think what you need to do is find the right hospitality opportunity. Now it is tough. They are really suffering. National insurance rises has affected hiring, leisure, hospitality, travel, the whole industry. But Sanjay, you sound like somebody who can succeed.
Ndiye media goja nipite juu ama kwa maji hakuna mtu anaona shit.
You show people the positive side of your personality, show them what you can do for the particular organisation you're applying for, and that break will come. I know it's easy for me to say that, and I sit here in the job of my dreams, but it wasn't always like that. I mean, everyone, I think, whatever they achieve in their life, there's always been times that they've found challenging, or maybe they haven't got a job that they wanted to do particularly, but hopefully it'll come around again for you, Sanjay. Let's go to Darren in Godalming. Hello, Darren.
Oh, hi, James. Hi, my question really is to do with how you structure your CV, how you format it. Do you, for instance, structure your CV to be read by robots first, or give it to the first lift, or do you really still aim to write it for a person to read it and get an insight into you? What's the right sort of balance to be struck there?
Well, I think it's a document that you should you yourself feel proud of. If you've got this in your own CV, then you are going to be able to engage with an employer. I wouldn't worry about whether your CV is being read by a bot. Of course, human resources are employing AI to screen candidates, but you need to be able to be proud of your own CV.
Zimekambana nyumbani. Kwanza wanazamia mziki ifike kwanza before tuanze kusumbuana. Tuesday, latest usiku.
Have a little bit of design to it to make it stand out from anyone else's.
We photograph all our candidates and we include the picture on the
hizi barabara zao zinaenda hivi, wanapatiana condition. Yesu ya mzigo kufika, wanafaa waseme at your own appropriate time. Huku ni wapi?
You find a candidate who comes in and talk about the shy ones, and you sort of
adding to their bottom line. It's very worrying from an internal perspective, and I can only have sympathy for the younger generation best jobs will be the ones that remain on the market, and for the younger generation to break into the market.
What would you advise to them?
It would be, how do you stand out with the onset of AI? How do you make sure that your skills are seen different from everyone else? And I think there is a need to think about how we as a market use the companies that we're going for. So I think some large companies have dominance over the market, and it's very difficult for young people to break into that. Perhaps new entrants into the market might be a better way than going with the old traditional companies.
Train people on is HireView, and HireView is that package that graduates, young people have to go through before they can make an application to some of the corporates. Certainly in the financial services industry it's used widely. I think from where I sit, the most important thing is that if you do get rejected in the application process, currently you have no one that you can call and say, how could I do better? And that is wrong.
We've come to the end of the hour, which is a shame because we've got lots of calls and lots of other questions, but we do have to leave it there. Thank you so much indeed. That's Renault Lehman, founder and chief executive of Finito Education. Coming up in the next hour, growing numbers of men and younger people are getting facelifts. It's difficult to say. A trend driven by social media, advances in surgical techniques and the rise of weight loss drugs. Figures from the British Association of Aesthetic Plastic Surgeons show facelifts are on the rise in the UK. In 2024, there were 1,882 procedures, up 8% from the previous year. Women accounted for the majority, with numbers rising by 7%. But the steepest increase came from men. Procedures grew by 26% in 2024. Why on earth would anyone want cosmetic surgery?
On your radio, on the LBC app, and
Play LBC.
Leading Britain's conversation. This is LBC.
From Global's newsroom at 9 o'clock. Political parties are criticising government plans to make it compulsory for all adults in the UK to have a digital ID. It would verify a citizen's right to live and work here. The Tories call it a gimmick, while the Lib Dems say people shouldn't be forced to turn over their data. Labour MP Jo White explains why she's in favour.
The pull factor in this country is that
of children from a chain of nurseries. The government targeted Keto International, which has premises in and around London. Sir Keir Starmer says he won't be distracted by reports of moves against his leadership. The Prime Minister was speaking after Greater Manchester Mayor Andy Burnham claimed Labour MPs are pressing him to mount a challenge. The taxi driver who dropped off the Southport killer Axel Rudakabana says he regrets not calling the police sooner. Gary Polands told an inquiry he drove off in a panic and made the call 50 minutes later. Ticketmaster has been ordered to change the way it sells tickets by the competition watchdog. It started an investigation after complaints about the prices for the Oasis tour. Fans will now be told costs when they join a queue and be informed when cheaper seats sell out. Oasis fan Stuart Jenkins, who didn't get tickets to the band's tour, doesn't think it will solve the problem.
I never actually got anywhere near to the point where I could put anything in the basket. The cheap tickets had already gone. We were into the £350 mark, maybe even more. I think out of a group of friends, I think there was only two people who managed to get 2 Wembley tickets, and I think they paid over £500 each.
Jaguar Land Rover says it has got some of its IT systems back online after being hit by a cyber attack. The car maker has suspended production for more than a month after the breach at the end of August. In the city, the FTSE 100 has closed down 36 points at 92.13. The pound buys $1.33 and €1.14. LBC weather: a dry and settled evening for most. Patchy fog developing in northwestern areas. Lows of 5 degrees Celsius. Tomorrow, cloud in eastern England will spread to the rest of England, East Wales and East Scotland, with the odd spot of rain possible. Elsewhere, dry with sunny spells. Highs of 17 degrees. From Global's newsroom for LBC, I'm Daisy Steele.
This is LBC from Global, leading Britain's conversation with Ian Dillon.
It's 3 minutes past 9 on LBC. Welcome if you've just joined us on LBC. You're very welcome, and you're even more welcome if you've stayed with us over the last 2 hours. Now, I thought I'd do something a little bit different tonight, because we could talk about Nigel Farage, we could talk about politics, we could talk about immigration, but you know what? On a Thursday evening at 9 o'clock, I thought, let's do something a bit different. And this story today, and it's all about facelifts and cosmetic surgery. And I think I have done a failing on this, but many years ago. So I thought, well, let's do it, because it seems to me there is an interesting more men than ever are getting facelifts, or having some part of their body altered in some way. And I'm pretty conservative on this sort of thing, with a small c. I can't imagine, unless I was disfigured in an accident or some sort, I can't imagine paying money to have any part of my body enhanced. Insert your own joke if you wish. I'm sure there are lots of people might say, well, you could take away that chain. Take away that because dimples in your cheeks. No, we don't. So before I quite started on now I love
hizi milima kaili inapata
I've just gone up to the highest space. And in a way, that is kind of an equivalent of cosmetic. It's not surgery, but you're using drugs to change your appearance, aren't you? So you're just So let's look at some of those statistics. Figures from the British Association of Aesthetic Plastic Surgeons, which has the unfortunate acronym of BAPS. Again, insert your own joke here. They show that facelifts in particular are on the rise in the UK, particularly among men. Procedures grew by 26% in 2024 compared to 2023. Now, admittedly, the figures aren't actually that many. It's only 140. But you think, well, why is that? Is it to combat the effects of taking weight loss drugs? Because if you lose a lot of weight, inevitably your face is going to look very different, and you may have saggy skin. You may have saggy skin on other parts of your body as well, which you may want to get rid of. So is that driving it? Or is it just old-fashioned vanity? You look at... I belong to a gym in Tunbridge Wells, which is not one of those sort of muscle Mary type gyms. You don't get many people there that look as if they've been on steroids for half their lives. But there are gyms like that. And why do men do that? To make themselves look better, to make themselves look more attractive to other people. Well, I can't think what other reason there would be. So if you've ever, whether you're male or female, if you've had whether it's a facelift or anything else, give me a call and tell me about your thought process and why you decided to do it. Because again, I'm going to sound very old-fashioned here, but I have never seen a woman who has had lip surgery look better than before she'd had it. I just think it looks completely unnatural. And there is nothing more beautiful than surely a natural human face. Look, there are very good-looking people in this world. There are ugly people in this world. But can you really make yourself much better looking by undertaking cosmetic surgery? Because everyone will know that you've done it. And yes, they will sort of mouth platitudes to you, it works so brilliantly. But I wonder how many people sort of behind your back then start sneaking. 0345 6060 973. Let's move to Dr. Nora Nugent, who is President of the British Association of Aesthetic Plastic Surgeons, who is a cosmetic plastic surgeon practising in Kent, so very near me. So if I did want to have this done, I might come and knocking at your door, Nora. How do you account for the rise in popularity of cosmetic surgery?
You spoke particularly about male plastic surgery, but actually there is overall a rise in plastic surgery across males and females. So there is an overall rise in cosmetic surgery or aesthetic surgery worldwide, not just in the UK. And we're seeing it carrying on into male plastic surgery in the UK, or more specifically facelifts, as you said. And actually, there's a very wide range of reasons why people do it. The weight loss medications are having a big impact. Obviously, people take them not to have plastic surgery, but to lose weight, whether it's for pre-diabetic blood sugars, blood pressure, joint inflammation, or so on. There are many reasons for doing it. But some significant weight loss does come with loose skin and volume loss, particularly in the face and neck area. And there are some patients coming after treatment with Mounjaro or Ozempic or some of the other GLP-1 medications. And it is a side effect, I guess, of the treatment. I'm not dismissing the treatment itself. It has many other positive benefits, in terms of the gain of health from weight loss, but it does come with these unintended consequences, and that's one reason why we're seeing a rise. There are a couple of other reasons though as well. We are also seeing, just like in aesthetic surgery, and you had mentioned about people not looking well, plastic surgery because they've had good plastic surgery, so they look well rather than looking like they've had surgery. You only notice it when it's not done well. And modern techniques are not about overdoing anything, and male facelifts particularly are sensitive to this issue, because lifting a male face is not the same as lifting a female face. Nobody wants to look odd or weird or look like they've had a facelift. It's about getting a more natural refresher of the face rather than anything else. And the more modern facelifts can do that without making something look overdone. So more people are realising that.
But people will always notice that you've had your treatment, won't they? Because if they don't, what's the point of having it?
Most people are doing it to feel better about themselves, not necessarily for other people.
Okay.
And in fact, it's completely the wrong reason to do it for someone else. It's only of benefit if it's of benefit to you personally. And if it is not of benefit to you personally, there's absolutely no point in putting yourself through any of these kind of treatments or surgery. They can be fairly significant undertakings. But there are lots of people who are doing it for themselves and are not necessarily obviously operated on. And some people do it in stages, other people do more dramatic changes, and some people are very open about it, but most people are quite private about it.
And how much, I don't know whether you can even answer this question, if I came to you and said, I'd quite like to have a facelift, please. Now, you could probably offer me all sorts of different kinds of facelift, but on average, what would I be paying for that?
There are all sorts of different facelifts, and I would say if the range would be somewhere between 15,000 and 40,000. That's quite large. But there is a range.
Vegetation yapi na kaa fit. Tuchukue picha. Vegetation yapi na kaa fit.
Different areas of the country are more expensive to practice in. Different surgeons have different fees, different hospitals have different fees, but that is the range for face and neck lift surgery.
So if my Mounjaro is successful, and it is being successful in regulating my blood sugars, but say, I have lost weight over the past few years. I've had a few sort of issues in hospital, and therefore I have lost quite a bit of weight, but then put it all back on. And I know that if I go below 15 stone, my face gets sort of quite thin, and if I put weight on, that it always goes to my face first. But if I go much below 15 stone, I will get a really scraggy neck. And I think that's not a good look. So you're saying that would cost me, if I wanted to come to you, and Chris now tells me that you don't just practice in Kent, you practice in Tunbridge Wells, exactly where I live.
I'm based in Tunbridge Wells.
So £15,000 at least is what I have to pay to cure my scraggy neck.
Honestly, yes, it really does depend on the extent of change wanted and how permanent you want it to be. But a lot of the mini facelifts, mini neck lifts are still a significant undertaking, but don't achieve the same longevity. And actually, that's one of the reasons why we're seeing a rise in face and neck lift surgery. The cheaper, smaller tweaks and non-surgical lifts really don't lift that well or last that well. They are not bad. They have a place, but they don't replace a facelift, and people are realising that. Or, maybe in their 30s or 40s that was okay, but not in their 50s or 60s. So people have
some chat
of the smaller procedures and move on to face and neck lift surgery eventually. But coming back to the point I made earlier, this is discretionary surgery. It has to be a benefit to the person who's having it, and if it's not, it's really not worth undertaking. But it is a benefit if it will help someone feel better about themselves, or in actual fact not to think about a particular problem area. The sign of success is when it's not an issue anymore.
And have you noticed any change in the demographics of people coming to you and your colleagues? I mean, I would have always imagined it would have been the sort of older demographic that do this, but sort of anecdotally, I suspect that you're getting a lot more young people as well, assuming they've got that kind of money.
So the typical facelift patient would be the older patient, but we are seeing younger patients, and some of that is the effect of weight loss medications. Some of it is the overall rise in plastic surgery in general, and patients are seeking treatments earlier rather than later. And there is some truth that a smaller facelift will lift a younger face, whereas a more expensive facelift is needed at an older age. Human tissue varies a lot. Some people have more elasticity, thicker skin, better quality tissues, but whatever our tissues are like individually, they are always better in our 20s than our 30s, always better in our 30s than our 40s, and so on. So there is some benefit to doing these things relatively young. Obviously, we're not talking about very young here, but there is some benefit to doing them younger than you might think of the typical age group.
You say the younger age group, but I'm not so sure in today's society whether that's valid, because there are plenty of pushy parents out there who say they've got a daughter who's 9 years old, who's got the most wonderful singing voice, and they want her to go on Britain's Got Talent, but she's got some sort of issue.
British Got Talent!
The same obviously for facelift surgery. Obviously, there are other surgeries, for example, rhinoplasty, that we would, not on a 9-year-old, but we would undertake on someone in their 20s, but not a facelift.
How regulated is this sector, or is your association effectively the regulatory body, or are there laws on it?
So we're a professional body rather than a regulatory body. So we're a professional body representing plastic surgeons in the UK who do aesthetic or cosmetic surgery or treatments. The regulatory body as such will be the GMC, the General Medical Council, and then for the clinics and hospitals, the Care Quality Commission, a CQC. The answer is, in some aspects, we're very, very highly regulated, and in others, there are huge blind spots. For example, anyone and everyone can inject dermal filler, and we see significant complications from that. Surgery, you would think, should be restricted to surgeons, and you would, apart from obviously maybe dermatologists and general practitioners taking skin implants and so on, but it's not as tightly regulated as that. Plastic surgery or aesthetic surgery, you would think would be restricted to plastic surgeons. That's not the case. So actually there's a lot of regulatory work that needs to happen in the UK to improve standards.
Absolutely fascinating. Thank you very much for coming on the programme, Nora. I'll meet you for a drink tomorrow night and we can talk about the price. That's Dr. Nora Nugent, President of the British Association of Aesthetic Plastic Surgeons. Well, it's over to you now. This is one of those phone hits where I'm going to be absolutely deluged by phone calls, or I'm going to have to do a lot of talking for the next 40 minutes or so. So get your calls in. What's your experience of plastic surgery? Have you maybe not had it but thought about doing it? Why did you decide not to do it? And what advice would you give if your best friend came to you and said, look, I'm thinking about it? What would you say? I suppose it maybe depends on whether you think they need one or not. 0345 6060 973. You're listening to LBC. I'm Ian Day. It's 18 minutes past 9.
LBC.
Oh, must be the new parent pussy chat. We're not even new. Our kids are 8. Or, as Eddie says, 96 months. He moved off grid. Can confirm he's still on grid. And he's got another one on the way. He won't have the coverage to live stream the birth, will he?
Well, here at Tesco Mobile, we've made sure he has 99% network coverage. So he could if he wanted to.
Oh, sign me up.
It pays to be connected. Tesco Mobile. Every little helps. Over 99% UK population coverage on 4G.
The Virgin Atlantic holiday sale is now on. This is your sign to taste Jamaican jerk chicken so good it brings a tear to your eye. Catch a New York basement gig worth the 10-block detour. Or hit the dunes in Dubai and find sand in your pockets for weeks. Seize the sale. Book in store or online at Virgin Atlantic Holidays. Selected routes. For T's and C's, visit virginatlantic.com.
Sharing intimate photos of her without her consent. Unwanted touching. Unwanted comments. Unwanted nudes.
Controlling what she can and can't wear.
Controlling who she can and can't see.
Threatening her.
Enough. This is abuse.
If you think it's wrong, act on it.
Call it out, show support, report it.
There are many ways you can safely tackle violence against women and girls. Find out how at gov.uk/enough. If someone is in danger, call 999.
Leading Britain's conversation. Ian Dale. Alexa, send a comment to LBC.
20 past 9 on LBC. Joe says, I had my eyes done in Turkey. It was a disaster. I was left with a droopy lower eyelids, and now I'm going to cost 13,000 to repair. I totally regret it. That's surprising. So that's the problem. Turkey is getting a real reputation for conducting this kind of surgery. Many people are very happy with it. But it would be cheaper than having it done in the UK, but that's the downside.
I feel really sad when I hear that, because when I think about Ramsey, I think about that relating to people having quite a high opinion of themselves, whereas I think this is coming from the opposite place, a place of insecurity, and I suppose there is a self-focus that comes out of that then means that you can't fully be present with other people. And so, surgical and non-surgical cosmetic procedures, if that will help me stop fixating on other people, I think you actually be present and be able to use it to work.
Ndio uzuri ya hivi, unaona venye vimekanyaga ikavuka.
About ourselves, but that's a good thing.
Why does it matter to you so much what other people think? Because I think it does matter to everybody what other people think of them to a degree. But to contemplate having your appearance changed to encourage people to think more positively, that I think is a massive step.
Yeah, I guess it is, and I suppose I've thought of that for so long that I have become somewhat desensitized to how significant that is. What I should say is that I would always be as responsible as I could about it. So budgeting for these things in advance, I've spent some time saving now.
Crystal Palace says, this caller has a lovely voice is and is accepted in my books. You've called me.
That's really kind.
But you see, I think the reason to this because I was actually voice, and of course, as I can't see you, I can't make any judgment about your appearance, and we all make judgments. You're right, we all make judgments about appearances. But to me,
correcting, and I suppose there's no guarantee where that will go. I think financially, the next
Di barabara,
from the financial side of things, ultimately.
Bastiani kama nimezichoka.
And I just have to keep reminding myself, I suppose, that grounding myself again, and reminding myself that that this can be problematic if you get too sort of into it and start spotting more and more things. It's something I'm really aware of, and hope that I wouldn't go in that direction. I would hope that also the work I'm trying to do, on my psychology would also help me there, and I would eventually, grow stronger in how I feel about myself.
how did the conversation go with your partner when you first suggested that you might want to do this? Because presumably they like you for what you look like now, otherwise they wouldn't be with you.
Yeah. Well, he's very grounding as well, because